On the 7th of June 1944, British Army photographer Sergeant Norman Midgley landed on Gold Beach in Normandy, France to document the involvement of British forces in Operation Overlord. Equipped with just his camera, Sergeant Midgley spent the day moving between different army units and taking photographs of their arrival on Gold Beach and then their advance inland. Among the photos he took that day was this one, which is labelled as B-52-51 and which was taken in the afternoon of the 7th. In the photograph, we can see Gold Beach in the background, crowded with troops, landing craft and equipment, whilst in the foreground a column of armoured and soft-skin vehicles advances up a coastal road towards the village of Evermore. At the head of this column are 3 tanks, including 2 Cromwells and 1 Sherman Firefly, all of which belong to No.3 Troop of A Squadron of the 4th County of London Yeomanry of the 7th Armoured Division. The lead Cromwell could be identified through its serial number as T121766W, although unfortunately the names of its 5-man crew are unknown. Nevertheless, shortly before this photo was taken, No.3 Troop had disembarked onto Gold Beach from landing ship tank 3512. Once ashore, the unit quickly formed up before exiting the beach via the coastal road that leads into Evermore, and it was here that the troop passed Sergeant Norman Midgley, who was standing on the corner of the modern-day D514 when he took his photograph. Remarkably, 80 years on, the area is virtually unchanged. After passing Sergeant Midgley, No.3 Troop moved inland to a concentration area on the outskirts of Bayeux. Here the troop remained until the evening of the 9th of June, when orders were received for the 4th County of London Yeomanry to move up to the front line and assist elements of the 50th Northumbrian Division in clearing the ground to the south of Bayeux, up to the small village of Bucéels. Accordingly, under the cover of darkness, the regiment deployed forward, and at 05:45 on the 10th of June, it went into action just north of Douet, with No.3 Troop operating on the regiment's left flank. However, over the course of that morning, the men of the Yeomanry failed to make significant progress towards their objective, as the Germans had turned every field and farmhouse into a strongpoint, whilst the close country, which was interspersed with orchards and narrow hedge-lined roads, was unsuited for tank warfare. The history of the 7th Armoured Division adds that. The 4th County of London Yeomanry led off at 5:45 AM on the 10th, and they were soon involved in fighting. In the hamlet of Jerusalem, they knocked out a German tank, but they were unable to disperse small parties of enemy infantry, who kept up a continuous sniping until the place was swept by the 2nd Battalion, the South Wales Borderers. In spite of the difficulties it faced, the 4th County of London Yeomanry eventually broke through the German positions in the afternoon of the 10th, and by nightfall it had secured Bucéels, with No.3 Troop taking up a defensive position in a field on the northern outskirts. Here it spent most of that night in action as it drove off multiple German attempts to infiltrate the British line. The next day, on the 11th of June, No.3 Troop was pulled into regimental reserve at Bucéels, a role it remained in until the afternoon of the 12th, when new orders came through for the entire 7th Armoured Division to redeploy to the area of St. Paul de Venay and carry out an advance towards Villers Bocage. Tasked with spearheading this operation was the 4th County of London Yeomanry, which set out from St. Paul de Venay in the evening of the 12th and secured Villers Bocage by 08:30 on the 13th of June. Throughout this advance, only scattered German opposition was encountered, whilst Villers Bocage was liberated without a single shot being fired. With the enemy appearing weak in this sector, the regiment moved quickly to consolidate its gains, with No.3 Troop, together with the rest of A Squadron, directed to push out to the east of town and capture a key piece of high ground known as Point 213. Once again, this objective was swiftly secured, and A Squadron immediately established a defensive position around the feature, with the tanks and No.3 Troop deploying into an orchard on the southern edge of Point 213. The next few minutes then saw the men of No.3 Troop settle into their new positions, whilst the troop leader dismounted from his tank and convened with the other commanders in A Squadron to discuss their next course of action. However, it was during this meeting, at around 0900 on the 13th of June, that suddenly gunfire and explosions rang out across the area, as 4 German Tiger tanks emerged from the field just south of Point 213 and began engaging the British forces. The War Diary of the 4th County of London Yeomanry records, "Columns split by 2 Tigers, regimental headquarters brewed up completely. A Squadron take up battle positions, B Squadron hold town but unable to get through to A Squadron. 1000 hours, A Squadron surrounded and attacked by Tigers and infantry. Call for immediate assistance but none could get through. A Squadron reports position untenable, withdrawal impossible." On the start of their attack, 3 of the German Tigers moved off to surround and contain A Squadron on point 213, whilst the 4th Tiger, commanded by Michael Wittmann, branched off to the left and advanced down the main road towards Villers Bocage. Over the next few hours, the men of No. 3 Troop and A Squadron courageously held their positions, in the hope that at some point reinforcements would arrive to relieve them. Unfortunately though, this relief was not forthcoming, and instead at midday, the Germans, having poured significant numbers of troops into the area, mounted a large-scale attack to destroy A Squadron and recapture point 213. The history of the 7th Armoured Division continues. The squadron to the northeast remained firmly cut off, and early in the afternoon a fierce German attack was launched on them. Tigers attacked from behind, destroying the few remaining Cromwells, and large numbers of infantry attacked from the east. The wireless suddenly ceased, and it was realised that the position was overrun. By 1300 on the 13th of June 1944, A Squadron had been overwhelmed, and the Germans had retaken point 213. Among the British losses was the entirety of No. 3 Troop, whose men had either been killed or taken as prisoners during the fighting, and whose 3 Cromwells and 1 Sherman Firefly lay abandoned or destroyed in the orchard. In the aftermath of the battle, a handful of German photographers visited the area to document the German victory, and included in the series of photos they took were these, which showed 2 of the Cromwells that belonged to No. 3 Troop. As can be seen, both tanks have been looted, but there appears to be no major damage to either vehicle, suggesting that they were not lost to enemy action and were simply abandoned by their crews. Of all the details present in these photographs though, none stand out more than the serial number visible on the left-hand tank, T121766W, which identifies this Cromwell as the same one that Sergeant Norman Midgley had photographed leaving Gold Beach just 6 days earlier. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe so that you never miss one of my future videos.